It's 5:45. I'd like to declare the General Committee meeting of Tuesday the 9th of June 2026 open. In accordance with the Local Government Act of 1993, Cowra Council is recording and live streaming this meeting and will upload the recording to Council's website. By speaking at this meeting, you agree to being live streamed and recorded and having that recording published in the public domain. Please ensure that when you speak at council meetings, you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Cowra Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. We acknowledge the traditional custodians on the land on which we gather, the Wiradjuri people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. I have an apology from Councillor Fagan. Would someone like to move that apology be accepted? Councillor Speechley, Councillor Kiss. Thank you. Councillor Speechley.
Not required, thanks.
Councillor Kiss.
No, thank you.
Anyone wish to comment? Write a reply. Councillor Speechley. Put the motion. All those in favour? Pass. Thank you. Okay, 1.4, disclosures of interest. Council and staff, please indicate in relation to any interest you need to declare. A, what report or item you are declaring an interest in, whether the interest is pecuniary or non-pecuniary, and what is the nature of the interest. I'll take Councillor Downing first.
I'd like to declare a non-pecuniary interest in item 5.2, the donation to Panahan, as Rad Jim has already donated some money to him, and that is where I work. So I will still be involved in the conversation and stay in the room.
Thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Again, item 5.2, it's a donation request from Panahan. It's a minor non-pecuniary interest as SYNC has also provided a donation towards this, and I'm chair and signatory for SYNC. I will remain in the chamber. In addition, item 5.3, the donation request for Jyden Memorial Team. Again, it's a minor non-pecuniary interest as SYNC has provided donation towards this, and I'm chair and signatory for SYNC. However, I will leave the chamber for this one, as I had earlier identified there was a discrepancy in the application and it places me in a slightly more conflicted position. Thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you. We have no presentations and no public forum. I'll now take a motion to confirm the minutes of the General Committee meeting held on the 11th of May 2026. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Horton, thank you. Councillor Kiss?
Not necessary, thank you.
Councillor Horton?
No, not required.
Anyone else wish to comment? Write a reply, Councillor Kiss?
Not needed, thank you.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Pass, thank you. 3.1 is a mayoral minute on rural and regional health. I think it's self-explanatory. It was put to... we do need a mover in a second. I'm happy to move it. Thank you, Councillor Wright. This proposal was put up by Dr. Joe McGurr, the 6-point plan, and it's pretty self-explanatory. It accommodates the problem nearly every rural council has, and this is the reason we've put it up tonight, is that we are all engaged in this, trying to do what we can. And I'll just share with you one of the things in there is accommodation for medical professionals, and I think it's now public knowledge, I hope. The block at the top of the hospital is being prepared for housing for medical professionals, and what they don't use for that will be used as a car park for the hospital fleet. So that's one of the points in the plan. Councillor Wright?
Yeah, the document, I suppose, clarifies what we're looking to gain and ensure that we are receiving equal medical care compared to the city. It's been stated in the media that city people, and also in this report, that city people can live 3 years longer than country people. I don't know how they exactly work that out sometimes, but because some city people knock themselves about pretty well at a younger age, they must get the medical thing must just keep them going. But nevertheless, it is getting harder to maintain doctors in the area. In the medical centres, they need certain qualified doctors to there to be able to look after first year out doctors that are completing their studies there to be so they are overseen in the workplace and they can become doctors that might stay here. There's also, I only heard it on the way in, but often a forgotten source that we have is the paramedics and the ambulance service now. They're a lot more qualified than what they were 30 or 40 years ago, and they've got a lot more equipment with them. And the example giving was someone having a heart trouble. If the paramedics get to the house, they can begin treatment straight away with what would happen in a hospital. And sometimes by the time the patient gets to the hospital, they've got very few signs of what their trouble was, but they can, because the treatment has started and it's continued. But the biggest saving and they can, the patient will still be looked after, but what it leads to is that if they don't get that first initial response, that patient could end up spending 10 days in intensive care. The prognosis mightn't be quite as good as what it would be if the paramedics can happen to be able to stabilise it as quick. And 10 days in an ICU is $10,000 a day expense. So we need to understand what is offered in the ambulance system and the paramedic system, and give them support as well as what these people here are. But it all comes in under allied health professionals, I suppose. But it's something that we've got to work on all the time to let the people know in Macquarie Street that the boundary doesn't stop at Windsor or Central Coast or Wollongong. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Horton.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I'm very supportive of the mayoral minute and glad it's been brought forward. I'm grateful, obviously, to Dr. Magura as well for putting this together. We can argue about what we think should be in the plan or how the plan should be prioritised, what should come first or second or third. I think, though, what's important is this needs to be seen as a coordinated approach. We don't want regional councils fighting with each other and competing with each other over scarce resources. So I think this coordinated approach and making sure we keep this on the agenda is really important. So supportive of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's a really great articulation of the challenges we face here, and I think congratulations to local government New South Wales for pulling this together. And I think from the conversations we've had around this room over the last couple of years, it's quite reflective of what we regularly face and what we hear from our community. While there is great benefit in development of technology and telehealth, it doesn't meet all the needs that we have. Instant scripts obviously is great for if you've got a little niggle or you need something rescheduled, but it doesn't provide the same proactive healthcare that people in Sydney are able to experience after living in Sydney for a few years. And the difference of that kind of care of having someone, the same person you go to, who's got the time to give you genuine invested healthcare where they're asking more questions is greatly beneficial to all of our health. And I think the reason you can see such a difference in that long term is those things where you've got someone who's asking more questions. We've all probably been to Fastlane before with something that is probably a bigger issue than we're presenting with, and maybe end up being sick for a bit longer, or know people who've felt like, oh, we couldn't go to the doctor, I couldn't get into the doctor. So I think this is really important, and probably I think that, you know, there's probably a bit more that communities our size can push for as well, in that GP guarantee of a GP guarantee ratio to the community. I think what they're looking for here is the guaranteed one GP per community. But what Cowra in particular obviously has faced is about 2 years with not enough doctors, and being told you couldn't get into the doctors for 3 months, or every book was closed for every doctor. And that's just not realistic, and that's not fair on the people of Cowra, that they don't get that kind of ability to look after their health. And we know we've still got a mind switch for people to be proactive in their healthcare and step forward. Particularly the stereotypical older male farmer who thinks everything will be right. We need to get them in the door, and particularly for things like mental health, having that capacity to get in when you need it is so, so important. We're very excited that we've got 6 GP training registrars, and I think is it 6 new paramedics as well, which is a great boost to our community. And as was mentioned, I think looking at those things like supporting with housing and what else we can do to support those people to stay is so vital, and also recognition from the government that training is very important and also resource intensive. And often the way we get people to come out to the community is to get training. We hope that they stay. I hope they find a farmer and marry up and stay. But that's not always the case. But it's still a great way to get people connected to the community and think about something else. We've also talked a lot here about the impact of reduced birthing services in the communities around us that puts on our hospital, particularly when funding and staffing is generally provided based on the birth rate within the local government area or the local health district. And we know our hospital services people from much further afield. And it's really sad to see the situation that I think progressive governments have assumed of country people, that they can just drive a few hours and it'll be fine. And from personal experience, if a hospital hadn't been near to me, my birth experience would have been very different and very damaging if only I lived down the road in Young and had to drive another hour to get to a hospital. So I think that's a real concern that shouldn't exist today. Like, it's the 21st century. We live in a very wealthy country. I think it's about time that governments provide genuine healthcare to the regions. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Downing.
I would just like to support this. We're actually saying that we are going to join with the other communities in rural communities and actually support this, that the government, that local government New South Wales has put together this 6-point plan. We're going to actually advertise that we support this, because I think everyone in this room does. And then we're also going to write to ministers to ask them to support it as well. So health ministers from the Commonwealth and state and regional and health people as well. And I think that is a part that everyone needs to do together, and I'm more than happy to join with this. It puts regional health and planning on the map. And it also perhaps will let the government know that there are needs outside of areas, things that they can do within the state as well. Queensland have higher rates. They pay nurses more, they pay nurse practitioners more, they have set up clinics with nurse practitioners, nurse-run clinics. I have a girlfriend who runs one in Gladstone in Queensland. So there's a lot of options for the government, New South Wales government, to take this up, and this is a great start and very well written, and I hope it is well taken in Sydney when it gets there.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Okay, my right of reply, I'll just reiterate. I know we announced it a couple of weeks ago, but the joint organisation has provided 3 scholarships to trainee GPs at Charles Sturt, one from Parkes, one from Orange, and one from, I think, Goolagong. And Grenfell, Goolagong and Orange. So we're a big chance of keeping those in the district. might not be in Cowra, but at least they're staying in the JO area. So that's a positive, but we're going to have to continue to work away at this. It's not going to come easy and it's not going to come quickly. But I think if people, Councillor Wright is right, if people come here, they might experience it and like the place. So I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Passed. Thank you. 4.1, the Community Satisfaction Survey. Councillor Kiss, thank you. Councillor Watt, thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to begin by actually thanking all of the constituents who completed the survey. It's very appreciative of their efforts. Look, I see these sort of surveys as an opportunity for us to work out how we can actually improve our services. I always welcome these sorts of surveys. I mean, nobody likes to hear that you're not doing something as well as what you'd hoped, but there is no way that we can improve unless we receive that honest feedback, so I'm very grateful. It is good to see that Cowra Council achieves a higher benchmark than satisfaction than the average comparable councils. So we know we're headed in the right direction. Honestly, it's nothing more than I would expect though. And whenever we can do better, well, we should. You know, it's the attitude of our council as a collective that has achieved these results. Although our satisfaction benchmark is slightly down from the 2020 results, it's moved up from the 2023 survey. And again, it's often difficult to pinpoint exactly where these slight variations are made, because no doubt there are many factors at play. The healthcare, as we were just discussing, and a safe, vibrant community are deemed to be of the highest importance to our constituents. And what that says to me is that people want to feel a safe place to call home. You know, we all pride ourselves on that sense of belonging here in Cowra. And it's good to see that across our constituents they have the same thoughts for wanting to feel like they belong in this place. And understandably, people are wanting greater consultation. I remember when I was elected as councillor saying that the main thing I'd like to see improved is our communication outwards, and also obviously making it inwards. But we have made a big progress in that way. We're still trying to improve, make it easier for people to contact us. And I know that there's a lot more information coming out from council. People aren't always dissatisfied about what council is doing. It's more that they don't necessarily understand, and that's like all of us. We like to know why things are done or why decisions are made. There's an undeniable interest in improving our roads, and interestingly enough, that it was where the area of rate rise was potentially considered. We live in the real world. We understand that everything comes at a cost, and if people want roads, then they also have acknowledged that maybe that would be a reason that they might consider, and I put in brackets might consider, a rate rise, because it obviously is important to them. But, you know, things like improved road conditions is something that we can strategically plan for, and we know that it is very important, which is most positive. And look, I feel very positive about the survey as a whole. I look forward for us continuing to improve, and once again, thank you to the constituents for their feedback.
Thank you, Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Kiss, for your fantastic summary of so many things in the community survey. As Councillor Kiss mentioned, we did our last survey in 2023. So it's good to see over time how things have changed in a very different world. One of them most fascinating to me was the massive drop in people who wanted pamphlets in their mailbox, because when we got that a couple of years ago, we went, oh, that's so strange, let's send out a bunch of pamphlets, and maybe they've got sick of them, who knows. Particularly, I wanted to highlight and congratulate the staff and the people we worked with to develop this on the really great efforts to ensure that the Wiradjuri and First Nations community was adequately represented. We highlighted in 2023 that the First Nations community wasn't represented in the same way, but we met here exactly the percentage of our community that identify as Indigenous, and I think that's really important for making sure the information we get in this survey is reflective of our community. It was really fantastic to see an increase in satisfaction and visitation for our cultural facilities as well as our recreation facilities. Congratulations to the Art Gallery, who have a 27% increase in people claiming to have visited. And I was particularly fascinated to see more than half of our population have used a playground at least once in the past year. So I think that's a really interesting insight into how our community engages and, you know, probably multi-generational involvement in child's lives, which is fantastic, but a really good insight, because I think sometimes, you know, you think, oh, I just see one family there, but there's one family there every hour of the day, probably. As was highlighted by Councillor Kiss, roads are highlighted here as a focus for us to take on from our community, and I think is quite reflective of where we are at as a council. We're very grateful that the federal government has started a massive increase in our funding to reach double the funding we had a couple of years ago. And I'm also really proud that we as a council have taken the decision to utilise that increased funding to invest in better quality roads when we're doing them, looking at tarring, looking at wider carriageways, which we know when we've got this opportunity of increased funding, which we know we can never take for granted, will mean that those roads are going to last longer and we can get a bit more bang for our buck long term. And I think that is particularly thank you to the Director of Infrastructure and his team for bringing forward that proposal. I think is a really significant decision we've made that will have impacts for a long time coming forward. So thank you very much for that. We also had footpaths start up as an area of concern, and I think that's reflective of conversations I've had with some members of the community recently, and something we reflected on previously with the Director and myself of how far out we do our regular footpath audits, and that's probably something for us to consider as well, of what's defined as the CBD and how regularly we're checking those, as well as how we can get that feedback back from our community. Recycling satisfaction also dropped, but I think as we discussed later in this meeting, we are progressing our FOGO conversation, and I think that's where the rub is really coming in the community of the lack of FOGO, as that's obviously what people are more aware of, which will, from our statistics later on, help us start to reduce a bit of that contamination and make sure more recycling is going into recycling. And lastly, I think a really important element from us to take is the increased request for consultation or desire for consultation, and would definitely agree that we have improved our communication outward, but that's very different to consultation with our community and involving them early on in the development of it. And I think our work that was done through the Sport and Rec Committee around the development of master plans is a real demonstration of how good consultation can be done and also result in really good outcomes that are supported by that community. When we get these grant opportunities, you know, we only get them once every couple of years for these big significant projects, and it is our role to represent our community and try and make their situation better. And I think it's really on us to make sure we're bringing them along with it. This council often does a lot of really good things, and our community isn't always aware of it or can raise things that we haven't considered. So I think it's always important that we've got those open capacity to do it. And thinking about when we had the FOGO, the environmental sustainability, I'm trying to remember which one it was. We had some stalls in the main street, I think around our energy efficiency plan, perhaps it was, Dirk, and got really good consultation. I think it's us learning from those situations of being in front of the community, not saying come and find us somewhere else off the main street, but being physically there and getting our information out there and reducing any barriers to consultation. But we also saw this really strongly in the CBD activation meeting a couple of years ago, and I think that was such a demonstration that we couldn't fit everyone in the room and had to say no to some people to coming to a consultation, that the community was so interested in putting forward ideas. And I think we can be scared that they're going to just be negative, but often they aren't. Often they're really proactive. So whatever we can do to make the time for that and open up our ears would be fantastic. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Right, a reply, Councillor Kiss.
Just like to thank Councillor Watt for her contributions, all very valid, and yes, I agree with her words too. And just talking about reducing the consultation barriers, I think if we can do that, then we can definitely make huge improvements from there in all facets. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Passed. Thank you. 5.1 Local Government Remuneration Tribunal Report on mayoral and councillor fees. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Horton. Thank you, Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, it's always an awkward point, you know, in one way we all have a conflict because it's not very often that we give ourselves a pay rise. Look, this is actually asking that we support the the Remuneration Tribunal's annual determination to include a 3.7% increase, which is CPI, I'll also note, and that we also adopt from the 1st of July the maximum mayoral and councillor fees as determined by the Remuneration Tribunal, and I'm quite happy to accept that in as much as it's been a tradition of Cowra Council to remunerate at that rate. Look, I'm always, when I come to this, I'm reminded of a conversation I had before I came onto council where I didn't even realise remuneration existed. And I was really quite surprised because, in a way, I thought of this more like a volunteer role, and I don't believe any volunteer should get paid for their job, for their efforts. You know, that just then defeats of it being a volunteer. However, even though this isn't a job, it's actually a privilege. There really is a middle ground. Being a local government councillor is neither a job, but it is so much more than a volunteer expectation. You have greater responsibilities. You have greater responsibility to be learning and to be engaging with the community if you're actually going to be useful to the community as their elected councillor. So look, I've written here, you know, things like that it takes additional time, responsibilities, the mental resources, the absolute commitment to personal learning so that you can advocate on behalf. And these are all where I see it being over and above anything that a volunteer would be expected to do. Having said that, I do thank our community for supporting this remuneration. I acknowledge that it comes out of their rates, but I can say that at least for me, it definitely provides me with greater opportunity to advocate on behalf of our constituents, gives me more opportunity to be on the ground, to attend functions and events that I wouldn't otherwise be able to do, things that I pay for out of myself, just so that I can be there and on the ground, literally sometimes when I'm with local land services, literally on the ground talking to people. So I am very appreciative. I acknowledge that it's coming out of their rates, but I just also do hope that our constituents see the benefit in what it allows me to do to then be able to contribute back to the advocating for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Horton.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, very briefly, I think as Councillor Kiss intimated, this is almost the definition of a conflict of interest, really, voting on a pay rise for ourselves. It's important to note, of course, that this is determined, as Councillor Kiss said, by the Local Government Remuneration Tribunal, so it's not a decision by council. Councillor Kiss is absolutely right. I don't think anyone would be a local government councillor in a regional council for the money. You're doing it for other reasons, altruistic reasons, but certainly some remuneration for the hours and the effort and the travel and the time away from other things is most welcome. So yeah, happy to go with the recommendation from the tribunal. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Wright.
It's a very detailed report and takes a fair bit of reading and the reviews they go through from the different levels of government. in the local government, the different sizes of councils and how they're remunerated and how they work it all out. And I still think that this is a very discriminative form of payment to people that take on the challenge of being a councillor or a mayor in any sort of local government. We can see that the city councillors vary from at the top end of councillors is 39,000 down to about $34,000 a year. But we've had to put up with a local government minister saying that we're the most corrupt local government form of government in the country. However, the most corrupt ones are the ones that are getting paid the most money. It's very disappointing to see the Parramatta Council being hauled before the finance committees at the moment to work out what they've been doing. There's been an ongoing lot of things with developers and so forth down there, but yet the tribunal sees fit to pay them more money because they've got a higher turnover. But it's not the councillors doing the turnover, it's the people that are living there that are doing the turnover. They don't use that in state and federal parliaments. They don't determine how much money a sitting member in a rural and regional electorate will receive on the amount of money that electorate contributes to the national gross product, and but they seem to think it's right to do it here in local government. It doesn't take into account the time that we spend getting to meetings in various locations, whether you're going to a joint organisation meeting or regional meetings of various things that the council's involved in. And where in the city they can just catch they could catch a cab or a train or a bus 2 or 3 blocks down there, and they're at the meetings place. And I find it difficult that we will ever see a change in this, but I just feel that we in the rural and regional areas, I'm not saying that we need more money, but they could reduce the money in the city areas, and they might get a better class of citizen being nominated because they're doing it because they want to help that local government area work and not develop a business profile for themselves, supported by an income that, although it mightn't be a full-time income, but a very big major part of an income, so they can develop their footprint in other forms of government or onto advisory committees and so forth. And so that's just I'm happy for the council to adopt what's been offered by the IPART people, and it's considerable more than what was offered 18 years ago when I come on here, but I never really looked at how much I was going to get. I just felt that the rural people in this shire needed a representative here, and I've been lucky enough to be elected to do it. And I'll leave it at that before it becomes intimidating or something else. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? I'd just like to take up Councillor Kiss's point that whilst you don't do this job for the money, you would hate to think that the fact that there was no remuneration would be a barrier to someone becoming a councillor. So I think we've got to look at it from that angle as well. But I certainly doubt whether anyone would be embarrassed about the amount we get paid. I honestly don't. And I take Councillor Wright's comments as well that some of the Sydney councils get paid a hell of a lot more. They've got very few roads. They don't do water, they don't do sewerage, and I'm not sure that they do garbage either, and I'm not real sure what they do. But, and I don't think their DAs go through council either. I think they go to a regional planning panel. I'm not real sure what they do, but they certainly get plenty for it. Right of reply, Councillor Kiss.
Not necessary, thank you.
Put the motion, all those in favour? Against? Passed, thank you. 5.2, a donation request from Master Penha Hun for attendance at the Barker Academy in Spain. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Horton. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, this really is, I can see, a very exciting opportunity for this young fellow, Penha. He is only 7 years old, and I saw it in the Cowra Guardian, the most recent Cowra Guardian. There was an article about him. But this training opportunity in Spain is clearly not insignificant internationally. We have had a prior application for another young fellow, and we did also approve a donation to him. Look, you know, maybe it is a little bit early days to tell he's going to be an international soccer star, but, you know, anything's possible, and I think that these opportunities aren't handed out lightly. One way or another, this would provide a life-changing experience for him, and hopefully something that's going to then help him succeed in life later on. And I'd like to think that, you know, we can actually play a part in that too, that we can reflect on it and, you know, hopefully be championing him when he's an adult as well. Look, we have a budget set aside in the section 356 donations, which is to help our local talents grow. So I don't see anything better that we could use this on to support a better cause of support. $800 is the amount donated in our policy for an overseas or international event. And it's to be held in December of this year. I have noted that there are already 2 donations that have been made. And I would like to thank both Zinc and Rad Jim for their contributions to this young fellow. I've also seen that he's been out there promoting through the community to try to raise funds himself. It's a $15,000 estimated event for his whole family, so it's certainly not insignificant. And I would also just like to make note and point out to anybody who has the availability that in the paper it did mention that Club Cowra is hosting a trivia night on his behalf on the 25th of June. So, look, I see this as being a beautiful way to show that we've got a village raising a child here. And I think that as a Shire, we should be very proud of what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Horton.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. So, whether in this case it's a sporting goal for this young man, but it doesn't matter whether it's a sporting pursuit or an artistic pursuit or an academic pursuit. If there is desire there and we can go some small way to help realise some of that desire, then I think we should. If we have the opportunity to do so. As I said, whether it's sporting or artistic or academic or anything else, absolutely right. We don't know whether or not this boy will go on to play soccer, but at a high level, it doesn't really matter. This is a great potential experience for him, and this experience may inspire him on to other things. At a high level, it doesn't really matter. This is a modest request for us to support a great potential opportunity. It's interesting the age that some children are being identified now. Football, of course, is a I think it's up until recently, and whether it's changed, one of the most played games in the world. So competition to identify talent is getting more and more intense. So you reach down lower and lower into age groups. So whether or not he turns into a football player is academic really. It's a great experience and a great opportunity, and he'll take more out of it than how to kick a ball. That's for sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Wright.
I've got a question first. Have we got 2 children been selected to go to this tournament? Because I think we donated something 4 or 5 months ago. Was that to a different child?
Yep.
Yeah, through the chair, there was a decision taken on the 27th of January to make an $800 donation to Master Safala Blaisley to attend the Barker Academy. That at that time it was intended that he would attend in March, however, due to international travel difficulties arising from the Middle East, that has been rescheduled to December, along with the one that is proposed that a donation be made to assist Master Panna Hun.
So the first one still wants it. He's still going to go.
That's correct.
Yeah, thank you. Just reading the thing, and it's something I thought after the January decision was, who looks after these 8-year-olds? Do the parents go with them, or someone else look after them? I'm quite sure that there must be some policy there to how they're going to be looked after in a foreign country, and I agree with what other people have been said. It's an opportunity that you must take when it's given to you, I presume, if you can. The pressure put on parents today of any child aspiring to excel in a sport or other discipline is quite large, because the people putting these training things on, they don't often live in the real world, and it's $15,000 the family's got to find, and no doubt that's not an easy thing to do. I do see that they're making a monthly payment towards it, so they are committed to it, and but who are we to say, as Councillor Horton said, that this child won't benefit from it, and we'd be wasting our $800. But I feel that we've got this policy and it fits the policy, and therefore we need to support these people to do something, and something might come of it. We've had very good success with other community members excelling in their sport and so forth over the years, and if this helps, so be it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Downing.
Yep, just to say that I'm happy to support this, giving him the $800 to travel to Barcelona. I will just note that the invitation was extended on the basis of his skills and values following a competitive tryout in Sydney. So he's actually they've seen him play, and I've seen this little boy play at junior soccer. He's only little, but he outplays every single kid on the field. So I have every hope for him that he will go learn from this experience and extend his love of soccer.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Before Councillor Kisses write a reply, I'm going to vote against this, and I think it's only fair that I say why. I just believe it's insanity to send a 7-year-old to the other side of the world for a soccer coaching camp, which there's obviously camps in Australia that you could go to. This is the second request we've had for the same thing. I voted against it last time. I think that the Barker Academy are probably doing very, very well for themselves. That's my cynical view, I'm afraid, but I just think as a 7-year-old, the other side of the world, I don't see it. So that's why I'm going to vote as I am. Councillor Kiss, right of reply.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I would just like to say that I think in general we believe that he's going to be doing his absolute best. We can only hope that he enjoys the experience and notes, you know, in later life that people do believe in him. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? Just myself. Passed. Thank you. 5.3, a donation request from the Jadon Memorial Team. Councillor Kiss is going to leave the room. Someone going to move that we approve this request? Councillor Watt? Do I have a seconder? Councillor Downing. Councillor Watt?
Thanks very much for that, Mr. Mayor. We had this before us last month and asked for some more information to come forth to get a better picture for what we're looking at here, and they provided that, which is great. While they have already received $4,000 from the community, they expect the event to cost around $12,000 to get set up, and anticipate to have 50 to 60 players attending. The donation request specifically covered the registration package, which I think it's a little bit misworded here, but I think what they're saying is the registration comes with the water bottles and gym bags and team equipment, and this should cover those fees, which I think is a good community support for us to do. It's you know, $550 for 50 to 60 players is probably a pretty small donation in retrospect, but I think it fits within our policy that that's what we do for this type of activity, so I think it fits very well. Cowra's got a great history of representing in league, particularly from our Wiradjuri community, and this particularly being such a significant development of a team in recognition of young Jardin is very heartfelt, and congratulations to and go well to the team who are doing it. Thanks.
Councillor Downing.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to donate the $550 that's been requested by Takesha Pollard in memory of her baby son that has passed, and I think this is a great thing for our community to go to. I hope they do get this team together, and I'm very proud that council can support the community in such a way. I think that these kind of knockouts, this is the Blacktown knockout. I think they're just cultural events. Football brings everyone together, and we know how important it is in the Indigenous community throughout Australia about rugby league, and I hope that they get this team up and running and that they represent the Pollard family on the day.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Horton.
Just briefly, look, there's a couple of things I think that are common across this item and the previous item with respect to request. Donation requests. And firstly, they're fairly modest requests, but it was just touched on by Councillor Downing there. Sport is about, doesn't matter which sport, at promoting an active and healthy lifestyle. And if council can support by providing $800 here or $500 there, then I think that's a good thing for council to do. But there's also, as was just mentioned, the cultural aspect of it as well. So, yeah, that's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. Happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It seems like a good thing. We've sponsored the All Blacks to go, the Ramby All Blacks to go to this before, and they're not going this year, but apparently they are supporting this team being formed to go and play and represent the memory of Jaden. it states there'd be 50 or 60 players. So there's going to be a lot of expenses, and I just hope they all get a bit of a game. But that's up to them to work about, and we're not sponsoring 50 or 60 people. We're just sponsoring the team, and as said by the other councillors, I think it's something we need to do, and to try and let them develop a memorial for the lost community member, and also show that Cowra supports all sections of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? I'm going to vote against this again, so I think it's only fair that I say why. We already give, this is a modest request, $550, not a lot of money, and it's the lowest request we've had from footballers to make a team up. But we already spend about $7,000 on the Arambi All Blacks. We also do the Galari Bloodlines, and I just wonder how many more teams we can continue to support. And I feel we've done enough. The heartstrings get pulled on this one. The little boy died, and they want a memorial. I understand all of that, which makes it even harder for me to stand here and say no. But I feel I'm not true to myself if I don't think it's right and I don't say so. It's going to get up. I can see the numbers, but I do think that I disagree with it. I think we do enough of this already, and admittedly, the ones that got in first get the money, and the ones that didn't, they're probably going to get the money as well. But that's just my thoughts on it. So, Councillor Watt, write a reply.
Not required, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? That's me. Pass, thank you. Can we get Councillor Kiss back in, please? Sorry, 6.1, the household curbside bin system audit of 2026. Councillor Watt. Councillor Kiss. Thank you, Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A fantastic report we've got here tonight. As we discussed a couple of months ago, Council was successful in getting a grant from the New South Wales EPA to conduct a bin audit alongside Wedden and Hilltops Council to help us develop our plan for rolling out FOGO in the community. We're required to roll out FOGO by 2030 at the moment, but it is quite a significant change in how we process our waste, how we collect our waste, as well as for the community in a shift in how we do it. There was a little bit of angst in the community at the time when we said we were going to be looking into bins, but I'm sure it was all done very anonymously, and you can see from the report here we don't have any information about what you're putting in the bin. I did have a little bit of a concern as an avid recycle advocate that someone would have a look in mine and say I did something wrong, but we all can learn and continue to improve our recycling. Some really useful information that came out here was that of the average 11.5 kilo of waste bin, 4.6 kilos of that was FOGO. So I think this gives us some really good insight into the amount of waste that could be diverted that's sitting in there already. The report also notes that often people aren't putting in garden organics into their bins because there isn't the capacity now. So there's probably even more that could be put through that way. It highlighted again our continued issue with contamination rates with our recycling, and the plan here puts forward a number of great suggestions for us to do work in recycling education, which is already slated in our strategic plans that's a space we want to get into. We've held off a little bit on that to align it with FOGO to kind of give people that big picture. But it's really good to see, I guess, the types of materials that are being put in and why. there was some really good recommendations as well about community recycling centres and drop off for hazardous waste. There is some opportunity to drop off batteries here at council, as well as at a number of other facilities in town, but I think we can do more work to expand that. We know that you're much more likely to do that drop off if it's easy, as opposed to driving out to the tip to drop off 2 or 3 batteries. We know human nature, we're probably not going to do that, but if you can find it nearby, such as how chemists have done with blister packs, that you're already going in to get your script, so you take in your old blister packs and recycle them. And while it feels like little things for each of us, it always adds up over time. A good one for us to keep in mind going forward in our budgeting is the benefit of these waste audits for identifying our success. So we should look to scheduling that in at a certain point when we've done that recycling education, so we can really test that measure, particularly because these give such great detail into what type of things people are recycling. I think wish cycling is a term that's often used, and I think that's quite reflected here in people thinking certain types of plastics are recyclable, putting them in their bin, hoping for the best. And unfortunately, that not all plastics are recyclable. Particularly, this came out after the end of the red cycle debacle, and so I think it's really important here to see the contamination rate in majority isn't people not caring about their recycling. I think there were some really good reflections here of people who choose smaller waste bins actually having much lower contamination rates than other bins. So I think that's really interesting about how much information is garnered there. But a really great report from here. I guess a question to the Director, if I can, of what do we do from here? If that's allowed.
Through the chair, excuse me, the information provided in the bin audit is essential to estimating the quantity of food organics and garden organics that we will pick up when we implement the system. So it's all in your major project reports. We're going forward to a business case scenario, which is going to come to you around about November this year.
Fantastic. Thanks for that update. This is really great to see this issue progressing. And I'm sure reflecting on our community survey, where this was one of the areas that are starting to decrease in satisfaction. Hopefully this will start to tick that box for our community as well as reduce our environmental impact. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Councillor Watt. Very well summarised. And Councillor Watt did raise a very interesting fact. I actually had to read it a few times myself because I know there'd been some discussions about the potential for additional contamination in yellow bins where people have the smaller red bin, thinking perhaps they're, once their red bin's full, they'll just toss it over into the yellow bin. I mean, we'd hope that people didn't, but, the thought was, is this actually happening? And it turns out it's actually the exact opposite. Where people do have that smaller red bin, they seem to be more conscious or selective of actually taking out their recycling and putting it into their yellow bin. So it's sort of went against what the general thought was in the room when we were discussing big bins, little bins. So, good on you to all those people with the little bin that are actually making that additional effort. So I did have some extra figures in here. Look, it's free for anybody to read through. We've got, here it is, just in a nutshell. People with the larger waste bins had a 21 greater degree of contamination in their yellow bins. I have a big bin, but hopefully I'm doing my recycling the right way. Look, I actually think this is all about education, pulling together and making us all a bit more conscious of the fact that we're all leaving a footprint, and we're just going to have to work through this together if we're going to improve the environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? I agree with Councillor Watt. There was a bit of angst when we told people we're going to go through their bins. But I think the results we've got prove a lot of things. I mean, I've got a little bit, I'm proud of myself. But it's just interesting how people do things, and it gives us a lot of information to take forward. So when FOGO comes in, we've got a bit of an idea where to go. And I note the recommendation from the people that did the bin audit that they think we need to do more on advising people what is recyclable and what is not recyclable. And I think we should take that on board. We've been doing it. We have Recycling Wednesday, but I think we've probably got to hit a bit harder with that, try and get our message across. A reply, Councillor Watt?
Only just to make you feel a little less proud of your small bin. I imagine there's a substantially different amount of people in your house to Councillor Kiss's. Just going to leave it there.
Thank you. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Pass. Thank you. 6.2, the arrangement to lease or purchase two council-owned lots, lot DP 1201417, which is Lee Street, and lot 11072219, which is River Street, and use of the local road reserves to comply with the General Condition 13 of the Notice of Determination on DA 57 of 2020. I'll move this. Can I have a second? Councillor Cave, thank you. This is a bit of housekeeping to, we have a business down there at the end of both these streets who currently occupy that area with their business and lease it off council, and this is part of the DA further down 7.2 to declassify these as roads. It's all part of housekeeping to tidy things up, and I'm happy to recommend it. Councillor Cave?
It's nice to see if we can clean everything up and get everything a lot more neater and support the businesses and see. Yeah, so I'm happy with it.
Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Horton?
Just a question, just to clarify, I think I understand this, but so we've put a condition in a previous DA that says, as it says there, the applicant shall obtain the written agreement. So we're just wanting to progress that now to make sure that agreement's in place. So this business currently uses and has access to and right of access to this land, or like in practical terms.
Yeah, there are piles.
But in administrative terms, they don't have the right to be there.
That's right. Well, they do lease it off council, but at the moment there's piles of gravel on these roads. In theory, is that right, Director or Acting Director?
Through the chair, that's in summary, that's correct. Yep. So the business is operating on the road reserves, and this is part of formalising all the arrangements. And it's a sister report, if you like, to the planning report, which talks about the reclassification of the other blocks, so that we can finalise the matter.
Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And look, you know, I'm all for supporting local business, so, you know, I don't want that to be misconstrued at all. I just have some concern in that I don't see a lot in this document that indicates the positives and negatives, you know, why should we do it, why shouldn't we do it. In particular for this piece of land, in that it's down near the riverfront there, it's very near to the Redfern Street intersection where we don't know what's going to happen with a mid-level bridge. You know, we've talked about different routes where the mid-level bridge might make its way over to Redfern Street, so on and so forth. That particular tract of land is currently largely unoccupied, like with dwellings. It doesn't have anything too much major infrastructure there. And if something needed to happen, if we were to get a significant intersection or something like that around that area because of a bridge, I wouldn't then want to see us, well, the company move backwards because they've gone and purchased the land. I don't know of any longer term implications. This is why I've sort of held back on this particular thing. Certainly leasing, I have no problem with that. I have no problem with it, you know, later on being changed to actually being non-community land. I just don't feel like I know enough about it. Why does it need to happen now? This apparently was, if you look in the later document from 1960, it's been used. Why now? What are the benefits? What are the pros? What are the cons? I'm still a bit all over the place to say yay or nay right at this point.
Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Downing?
I vaguely remember when this DA came forward, and I think it was because they were using part of the business was so close to the river, there were bits of that needed to comply. Is that why we needed this DA in place in the first place? Or partly?
Through the chair, if you refer to the diagram on page 273, the business is operating on the road reserves, and that DA from 2004 was to formalise the business operating at that site, and basically the conditions were you need to purchase those road reserves, and you need to also make arrangements to get those parcels of land that council owns, which is the subject of the planning report, into your ownership as well. Otherwise, you're operating the business on land that you don't own.
So it does say that those roads will be closed, but that's only part Lee Street and part River Street, which is what they're using anyway. So they're no through roads now. So that's not going to close Lee Street and River Street altogether. So there's businesses on that River Street which will still be able to use the road.
Yeah, just to clarify, it's only the red areas on that diagram which would be subject to the road closure.
Yeah. Yeah, I understand this, and I do remember that we did this, and council has to actually pass this so that they can comply with the DA that's already been passed, and so I don't really have a problem with that. And the business, as we said, has been running out of there since 1960, so we're just formalising something that, needs to be done. I'm happy to support it.
Thank you. I think Councillor Kiss wants to have a second. I'll allow it.
Mr. Mayor, I understand this is out of what we would usually do, but I did observe that, unless I'm reading it incorrectly, there seems to be two different maps. The one on page 273 from this particular item is different to the one that's proposed on page 317 as item 7.2. I've got the comparison here between the two of them, and I can't work out which one's which. They seem to be different areas.
So through the chair, if you refer to the diagram on 317 and you have a look at the red areas of land, so they're not road reserve, so that the triangle and the rhombus or parallelogram, it's not a parallelogram, it's a quadrilateral. So the River Street goes in between the triangle and the quadrilateral. So and the extension of Lee Street is on the left-hand side. So does that make it clearer?
Can I clarify it? What we're seeing on page 317 is actually the lots that the client already owns rather than the road that they are looking to acquire. So we're looking, is that correct? Even if
just to clarify a little bit further, I suppose everything towards the left-hand side they don't own. So the two red triangles on the red triangle and the red quadrilateral are owned by council, and they're subject to the owner acquiring those lands, and that's why the planning report talks about reclassifying them as operational land, and the other plan shows that the road reserves in between those parcels, which are road reserves and therefore different classification of land, if you like, they're to be closed and purchased by the owner.
Yes, I'll allow.
You meant, sorry, Director, but you mentioned that to purchase those 2 blocks from council, but this says or lease. So are we changing the classification so they can purchase, or is lease still an option which we're passing in this one?
To clarify the Director Operations report, it talks about eventual purchase, closure and purchase of the roads. So that's the intent of that. I'd have to leave it to my planning colleague to talk about the intent of the reclassification, but my belief is it's purchase as well. I'd have to take that on notice and come back to you with what the actual consent says, but with my report, it's about the purchase of the roads as it says in the report.
Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Wright.
It's yeah, it's not real clear. It's not real clear, and it's been something that's developed probably prior to 1962 there, and they used what land was available to do what they had to do, and but then they did come under the pressure of the EPA and had to tidy things up as environmental regulations become tighter right across the industry, not just their industry. I think if we close these and sell them off so he's got a more definite future for his business operation model, it's not I would not oppose it. To suggest that these roads might be needed for a second or third crossing of the Lachlan River, I don't think you'll be putting any traffic down those roads to get across the river. It's not. I think getting across the river from the eastern side is least of our worries. It's where it's going to go on the western side to join the road network. And if anyone had anything to do with the council bypasses back in the 2010 and 11 or something, where most of us lost a fair bit of skin at public meetings, the suggested crossing was going to be down near the sewerage works and go up Cowra Road or River Park Road, and to take them right away from the town centre, those bigger vehicles, something like they do at Bathurst. So to bring up the crossing of the river with these areas here, which haven't been used for anything else, is a bit of a lot. You're drawing a very long string or bow or whatever to suggest the need for that. And they've also got a headache with the railway land, and I presume that's between the red bits there that they had access to cross the railway line, and but now that's all changed with the way they want to. They can still cross it, but they still want to maintain the section of railway land there and not be used, and it's just an unfortunate sight. But then to move what's there and start again would take a tremendous amount of money, and might not be what's best suited for the business. It's been there a long time. It made all the cement or concrete for the new bridge. When that was built, it's made concrete for the walls of the Coles Plaza. It's been a very good industry to Cowra, and it's unfortunate it's been tied up in things have been allowed to happen where they weren't properly informed of what the regulations were, and when they tried to tidy it up, it it's just become very messy. So I think this is one way of starting to tidy it up, and so I therefore support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to comment? Third time?
Third time, if I may, and this is still about the same thing, so I do apologise.
Before you start, I might make a comment that to use these sites for access to a possible bridge, there are a lot of businesses between Redfern Street and this area that you have to chop out a lot of businesses to use it for a bridge. But I just wanted to clarify that there are a lot of other businesses there. I'll allow a third one.
Thank you, only because it's actually still on the second one and it didn't quite, my mind's still a bit moggled. Don't know if we've seen on the page 317 that it actually appears that that quadrilateral is actually on the river. It actually literally goes over top of the blue part on the river. So how like, do we actually need to have it coming back from the river at all? Surely we can't be granting them on the river or right down to the riverfront. I'm just sort of, yeah, thank you.
Through the chair, to clarify, we might look at page 273, and to the right hand side of Lee Street is lot 1, DP 1201417. If you zoom in on your screen, you can see that, and that's the triangle that we were talking about, and you can see that the business is operating on that block from the aerial photo. And so when you scroll down a bit and have a look at the block underneath the red area, it's lot 10, DP 1107219, and it doesn't extend over the river, but it does extend over that treed area there. But you can see that the business is operating on that block, and so that the intent of the DA was that all of that land that the business is operating be formalised to either be leased or purchased by the owner. The planning report, I just had a quick look at it, it still leaves the option open as it does in the DA. So there's no commitment in the planning report to lease or purchase. It's just saying that that's the condition of the development consent.
The DA just referred to an agreement.
Yep, and this one with my report, the intent is to close the unused roads and then sell them to the owner, and that would be subject of another report to come back to council as well.
Thank you for your indulgence.
Okay, I think we've discussed this enough. I don't need to write a reply. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Those against? So it's not a DA, no. It will be a bit later, but it's not yet. So all those in favour, I'll go through it again. Those against? Carried, thank you. 6.3, the section 355 committee minutes of the Sale Yards Committee.
I'll move them.
Councillor Wright. Councillor Kiss, thank you. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It was a very concise meeting. Things are ticking along over there. The agents are doing their best job to keep the numbers up for each sale. As it gets a bit tighter, numbers are often lower this time of the year anyway, but with the current numbers everywhere, it's been fluctuating. I think Wagga yarded 23,000 lambs 10 days ago, and they're sort of the benchmark number one in the state, and if they come under 40,000, they feel their throat is cut. So there's a keen competition for what lambs are out there. There's not a lot of there isn't a big excess of lambs. Some lambs have been sold on forward contracts, but the agents are doing the best they can, and there's been no drop off in buyer support for what lambs are being offered at the sale. And it was interesting to see that heavy lambs last week made $438, which is a very good price from a Cowra producer. And so it's up there with them. I don't know what the kilo price is. The price at Forbes today, they got to 480 out of 30 odd thousand lambs. So you've got a lot of lambs, and there is some people down there that are aiming for that heavy lamb market, but often the kilo price is a lot less than where we here average for our trade lambs, our 20 to 26 kilo lambs, which have been up around $13 a kilo. We have to keep an eye on the effluent dams and the system there to keep the water so the dam doesn't overflow. And we have got an irrigation system that can be used on the holding paddocks between the sale yards and the abattoirs. And we have to ensure that can be they're usable. And we've also got an option to put the recycled water back through the truck wash. I think currently we use the recycled water to hose the yards out, but we've been using potable water on the truck wash at present, but if the dam's getting too full, which we can option to put that back through the truck wash, we'll still get same amount of money for use of the truck wash, but we won't receive the sale of the potable water to the back into the water fund. They're planning to plant some trees for shade and shelter in the winter time. It's something that's been on the agenda, but we just haven't bit the bullet and done it. The agents are quite happy to help establish them, and looking at increasing our advertising for the sale, and apparently they want Councillor Peter Wright, whoever he is, to go to the conference at Rockhampton. So I've got to see what's involved with that. That's at the end of July. I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'm certain that Councillor Peter Wright will accept that nomination to go to the conference, probably because he might not have much choice if he's been nominated by his committee, being such a worthy contender. Look, I think the sale yards have a fabulous looking committee. You know, they're always forward looking and action focused, and they're to be commended for that. And I see progress on the movement of the third truck bay wash, you know, now looking for methods to support the business case with their data collection. So I'm very supportive of everything the committee is doing. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Wright, write a reply.
No, thanks, but I do accept the positive comments from Councillor Kiss.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. 6.4, the installation of electric vehicle destination charges. Councillor Watt? Councillor Wright, thank you. My head will fall off my neck if I keep this up and up.
My battery's running low. I need a quick charge.
We need a bit more sun.
Councillor Watt.
Thank you very much. This is something we've discussed in the chamber before. We were lucky to receive government funding to install electric vehicle destination chargers at two locations, being the Art Gallery and the Visitors Centre. This is particularly of interest at the moment with high fuel charges. From my role at Cowra Tourism on the board, this is something that's really coming up in tourism at the moment, of people looking for alternatives, and the people most likely to be travelling are those with electric vehicles. So the quicker we can get this done, the better. As often happens when the timeline between when you put in your grant application and when you can actually do it is quite long, the cost increase, and I presume that's the reason for this report tonight, that we will need to find an additional $3,400 from council to implement this. I'd strongly recommend and hope that my fellow councillors will support that. This will be quite significant investment for our community, that we can hopefully bring more people to stay as they drive through. We know we are the meeting point of 5 highways. Many people pass through, and many people who have EVs or hybrids plan their trips around where they are. And hopefully, if you can have a look and see, you can go to our world-class art gallery or to the visitor centre that's open 7 days a week, and the Rose Gardens that's also open 7 days a week. They will choose Cowra as a great place to come to, as well as having the Rose Gardens next door, the Rose Garden actually itself next door. It's a great place to go to any day at the visitor centre. I had one question here. We've made a proposal here with the intention to charge 25 cents per kilowatt hour, which is substantially below market rates and below the rates of other charges locally. I guess a question of if we could have an articulation of why we've chosen to make it so much less than the other charges, as well as what our proposal would be to monitor this price, seeing as the articulation we've got here is that it's tied to the actual cost of electricity, and whether we would look to increase it with CPI annually or whether we'd review it when we get an update in our contract. Thanks.
Through the chair, firstly, the proposal there was what I said in the report was that it would be similar to what the Parks Shire Council have installed at their destination charges at the library. A minimal fee for usage will be determined annually by average cost of electricity over a 12-month period. Do we have any data on the use of the EV chargers currently? No, not. So we've got the existing Tesla chargers down there, but no data, so we don't know. Excuse me, we don't know the usage, and we don't know what it's actually costing us. So the intent here is that it's a bit of a compromise between attracting people to use them and actually recovering the cost of usage based on the electricity bills. Further increases, once this has been advertised for 28 days and adopted by council, we'll put it in the fees and charges, and then it's a matter for council to determine annually either CPI increase, or when we give you more information about what it's costing, then we can put the charges up.
As with all government grants, we get the grant for the thing in the first place, but we don't get grants to maintain it over time. Has consideration been put to the lifetime of these projects and potentially having a different cost to put aside money for a reserve to maintain it?
Not at this stage, or not as part of this report, but that would be part of the cost consideration into the future, yes.
Sorry, last one. Do we know the average lifespan of these charges?
I'll have to take that on notice, Councillor.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, first question, we've only got one charging station at the moment, haven't we? That's the Tesla one?
Two.
With this one here with NRMA, you've got to use your NRMA app to buy the electricity. It's not, council's got it doesn't supply the electricity to it.
Through the chair, that's correct. The NRMA one is as what it says in the report, commercial operator fees. So if you look at your charge app on your phone, and you'll find that there's a number of chargers in Cowra, not just the Tesla one. There's a number of commercial operators.
The club's got one at their motel.
Oh, yeah, no, this is, well, we need to update the one we got, and to, and at present, they get to use the Tesla one at our expense, which I don't think is a very good way of operating the business. I just hope that we do upgrade the facility there so they can get a quick charge. But I'm led to believe we didn't have enough power there before to put another one at the visitors centre area, but now we have got enough power. Is that right?
Through the chair, the detail of the report gives you some good technical information about the different types of chargers and the idea of a fast slow charger, if you like, or a fast destination charger being a 22 kilowatt, as opposed to a slow destination charger being a 7 kilowatt. And you'll also notice in the report there's considerable uncertainty provided by the electricity provider, Essential Energy, as to what capacity is there. But we do know the Type 3 charger, the fast charger, is the 50 kilowatt type installation, and there's definitely not enough power for that at the Visitors Information Centre. But there is the three-phase power, and the assumption, subject to Essential Energy approving the installation, that would be able to get away with the dual port 22 kilowatt chargers with load sharing technology, which means that when two people pull up at the same time to use the 22 kilowatt charger, they can't have 44 kilowatts total. They both get derated such that it doesn't go over the power availability at the site. So one thing to take away from this report, not stated straight out, is that it's very difficult to design these things when you don't know what the capacity is from the supplier.
I'd like to thank the Director for his frank information provided, and it's quite obvious Essential Energy, they only want to sell the power but not provide a service, and keep us in the dark literally by not knowing how much power is there and how we can generate enough power there to meet future growth, and why we would have to be the ones to pay for the upgrade when SEMA's be getting the benefit of the power being used. And it's an unknown. Yeah, I support what we're doing, and it's the best we can do. And the 25 cents looks like it's 2 cents per kilowatt above what we're currently paying, but with power costs they can change all of a sudden. And I know at the Young BP service station they're putting 2 chargers in. I don't know how big they are, but the fellow in at the cash register said one of those chargers, when they're used, uses more power than the entire site itself when it's operating. The subway, the electric pumps, and the convenience store. So they do draw a lot of power, and things have got to be upgraded. And it's good to see that BP or someone else is looking to augment the charging system within the towns, and we can only do so much, but it would take a lot of money and a lot of grants or something for us to spend a lot of money on that we mightn't get a very big return on, because we don't sell the motor cars to start with. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'd like to thank the Director too for at least spelling out the different sorts of charges there are. Look, I'd had exactly the same concerns as Councillor Watt has articulated. We know that the 25 cents will recoup the electricity costs, at least unless the electricity goes up and so forth. But I know that it's an unknown as far as what replacement costs will be, or upgrade costs, or maintenance, but the fact is it will be something. Is there any way that we can design a different figure to the 25 cents. I'm not trying to be unreasonable at all, but you can bet your bottom dollar that these commercial operators aren't just doing it for the electricity. They're also, what they're charging is also to recover maintenance and so forth. And I just feel like we should be providing a bit more to put aside for any ongoing maintenance costs, irrespective of replacement. Is there a way that we can figure it something a bit higher than 25 cents just to recover at least maintenance?
Anyone else
Can I
like to comment?
propose an amendment?
No, well, in that case, it's right of reply, Councillor Watt.
No, I'd like to propose an amendment.
Okay.
I'd like to change the motion to keep number 1 as it is, remove number 2, and replace it with investigate ongoing costs and lifetime of the charges, and review charging costs to develop a reserve to manage those costs.
We got that. Councillor Wright, are you happy to accept that amendment?
I'd like to ask a question first.
Yep.
Do we only have to supply power to the Tesla charger? Will Tesla replace or upgrade that charger when need be, or have they donated it to the Cowra Shire Council?
The Tesla chargers are owned by council. And further clarification on the power charges, that what's in there is only that portion of the bill which relates to usage. It doesn't relate to all the other various charges that council has included as part of its bill.
So,
Yeah, well, I will second the amendment.
so the amendment for the motion is 2's been removed, and Councillor Watt's amendment has now been accepted by yourself. So, would you like to speak to your amendment? Or which becomes the
So
motion
does that mean
now?
I don't speak to it, I think?
Sorry?
Do I still get to speak to it if it becomes the motion?
Well, we don't have, the chair, we don't have the restrictions on the number of the speeches when we're operating as a general committee, so it's at the discretion of the chair.
Perfect. Just through raising those questions, it does just flag with me that perhaps we should take a little bit longer to think it through. I was a bit torn in this because I wanted to go full steam ahead, but I think it's really important that we often as council get reports here to provide additional funding to fix issues with our charges. We've had some come up at the moment where we're looking to grant fund kind of run-of-the-mill repairs, and I think when specifically we have a charge for this usage and the proposed charge to cover fees is so substantially below the other options, which I think are about 70 to 75 cents per kilowatt hour, I think there is some capacity for us to still be competitive in that market, but to make sure we're covering our costs. I know the Tesla charger in particular takes a lot of staff time and has a lot of issues. So it would be good for us to make sure we've got that buffer so we can properly support it. And hopefully that's something we can move on quickly and have it back next month for us to consider.
Thank you. Would anyone else wish to comment?
Yeah, I'd like to comment on the change. Basically, I want. Well, the director's indicated there are other costs associated with operating the car charger, the EV charger, and I don't see any. And I think we need to have a figure there that's not going to be a liability to our budget. And I don't see any fuel companies, fossil fuel companies in Australia donating fuel to their clients out of goodwill. They've got to pay the full fare, and I think the EV industry has been getting a lot of tax concessions and so forth, and they're not paying very little registration fees for maintenance of roads, and they've been getting a discount on the energy they've been receiving, and I just look forward to a bit more information before we put something out on the. We advertise something that a charge is going to be put in, and and it could be out of date before we approve it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Downing?
I just have a question. It's on page 281. And it just says there's an element of the project, financial risk because of the available power. So I'm assuming that is because the grade 2 electrician doesn't know the power source until he applies to Essential Energy. So how are we assessing how much that would cost and where that would come from going forward?
Through the chair, there's a number of management options that we've got with the project. We talked about ideally we'd prefer to not have to install the load management software, but so the first step is if there's insufficient power, you go with the load management software, and so that the power usage gets decreased. Other options to look at to bring it back to the budget are to reduce the kilowatt demand of the charger itself. So you go from the 22 kilowatt to the 11 kilowatt, which I've said in the report is less preferable because you get less kilometres per hour out of the charge.
Yeah, I just wanted to make the point that that wasn't going to be a financial burden to council. It would be managed within the project. Yes.
The intent is to manage it within the grant according to the resolution that's provided there, which says that there's 3,400 to get the two dual port 22 kilowatt.
I've got a question, please.
Councillor Wright?
Question to take on notice. The load management system, you said if two cars plug in, the power will be split between the two cars. Will that put any pressure on I presume, the cafe, the business centre and McDonald's in the area too, that they would lose power?
The answer is no. The load management is particular to that part of the switchboard, which the new part of the switchboard, which the EV plugs will be in.
Thank you.
Okay, anybody else wish to comment? Councillor Speechley.
Just a question, perhaps. I'm not sure if it's a question, if it's just a thought. We're putting in these, let's say, the level 2 fast slow charger or slow fast charger, whichever way we want to put it. And so people will come to Cowra on the assumption that they can access that charger. So if they arrive here and there's already another vehicle using this charger side by side, they've actually got a slow one. So this is about us meeting expectations of what we're actually offering to people. If you're planning a trip, you're only getting an hour charge about 120 kilometres. So you're planning your trip fairly, you're really planning a lot, right? Okay, so I can get 120k, so I can get to Forbes or somewhere else next, based on sitting there for an hour and having a coffee and spending a lot of time in the visitor centre. But is there a risk to us about having these and not being able to actually provide the people who are using our destinations with a service and having dissatisfaction?
I can talk about my brother-in-law's trip to Young. He came from Tasmania across on the ferry, and he drove on Good Friday from Geelong to Young and had various experiences with chargers on the way, including the fact that his BYD Atto couldn't charge at the Tesla superchargers at all. Well, that causes a bit of range anxiety because you've made a plan to get onto the supercharger to get a quick charge and get moving as quickly as possible. You're driving on Good Friday and there's a massive queue to get there in the first instance, and then when you go there, you go to plug in, you can't use it. I think at this stage, my answer would be it is what it is, and what we can only offer what we can offer in the marketplace, and what we really need for implementation is fast chargers everywhere, not these sort of interim solutions which, you know, are not going to be ideal all of the time, but would service the community most of the time.
Would we have identified anywhere in Cowra where we would have the capacity for the fast chargers?
The proposal on the books is an electrical transformer update at Edgell Park, where there's thought to be sufficient capacity, provided that there's a significant investment in the transformer upgrade to provide, say, 3 or 4 fast charging locations. That was a part of the report that the Central JO did for us, where they identified likely sites for that sort of fast charging. But that is a considerable investment in electricity upgrade at that site, over $1 million.
Anyone else wish to comment? Write a reply, Councillor Watt.
Not required. Not required, sorry.
Put the motion. All those in favour? Pass, thank you. 6.5, the Caravan Park Capital Works Planning. Councillor Kiss, Councillor Horton. Thank you, Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, this is an example of the best laid plans not always working out. Our intention was to originally, in a 2026-27 long-term financial budget, to redevelop the internal roads of the Caravan Park, which is quite an exciting project. However, we've been advised that there are more pressing needs of operational concern that require attention, being the main switchboard upgrade with a budget estimate of $88,000, along with the manager's residence renovations. So it simply comes to us as a matter of needs over wants, and of course, you know, be guided by the director to ascertain which is the priority, and I'm certainly, the consideration hasn't been taken lightly, so I certainly support the recommendation to adjust the works program to reflect the new needs. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Horton.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a reprioritisation exercise. I think it's been made clear. I think if we could do all of it at the same time, we would. But if we have to make a choice about what we need to do first, second or third, what's been laid out here and the need for it makes sense. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Watt.
Thanks. Just a question. I just had a little bit of concern about the bathroom issues in the manager's residence and whether that could have any long-term impact on the building itself, noting there's some plumbing issues and water issues, whether this has been assessed if it's, you know, passing into other rooms, or whether there's any urgency in fixing these.
Through the chair, I'd have to take that on notice, Councillor. What I know about it is that there's some plumbing issues in the downstairs amenities, which I believe are related to the upstairs bathroom as well. So fixing the whole lot together. But I'll come back to you with a comprehensive answer there.
Thanks. Yeah, I'd appreciate it, because I just think there might be some opportunity for us to think about bringing just the bathroom part of the renovation forward if we think it's going to have actually cost us more in the long term not to do it now.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment?
Yeah.
Councillor Wright.
If they change the dates, just the manager's residence not going to be done to the 27-28 financial year. Is that right, or has it been brought forward?
That's what's in the recommendation currently.
Yeah, well, apparently got a 1.26 million reserve there, and once again, I've been here too long. 2 directors ago condemned the manager's building, and we're going to build $1 million, $1.2 million new residence, which is very difficult in a flood zone. But anyway, that's what they were going to do. So and some of those things, broken windows and so forth, and if the carpet's not pleasant and the plumbing's playing up, I would like them done quicker than what's been stated there. And $88,000 for the power thing just indicates what it costs to have power on a place, whether it's renewable power or coal-fired power. They always seem to want to upgrade things, and they mightn't offer us any better service than what we already have, but if you don't upgrade it, it's like computer programs, things don't work. So I feel those first two things should be done as quick as they can be done, and if we have to take a bit more money out of the budget, the reserve, so be it. We have to maintain our working environment down there for the manager and everything else, and I usually find out personally that if the plumbing's not going too good, your life's not going too well. So with those words, I look forward to something being implemented. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to comment? Right, a reply, Councillor Kiss.
Not needed, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Passed, thank you. 7.1, the Draft Environmental Sustainability Management Delivery Plan. Kiss, Councillor Kiss, thank you. Councillor Watt, thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, I'm moving this motion in the absence of Councillor Fagan, who has obviously contributed significantly towards this new plan. It's the Environmental Sustainability Management Delivery Plan, just in draft. It's a great plan. It's interesting to see how much in 9 years the priorities and focuses have changed when you reflect back on what was originally in there in 2017. And of course, it also takes on board the legislative changes that have needed to occur as well. Look, it's a great handbook, I feel, for us to have at our fingertips to explain exactly how we intend to care for our natural environment, not only for the here and now, but also to make sure that it's in as good or if not better position for the future generations. It's simply a good reflection of how we should be looking after the environment. It serves us, we're custodians of it, and we deserve to treat it with respect. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Watt.
Thank you very much, and thank you, Councillor Kiss, Councillor Wright and Councillor Fagan for their work in developing this strategy, as well as the newly named Environmental Sustainability Committee. I think this articulated in the definition of environmental sustainability, really what we're trying to do here, as defined as the responsible management of natural resources to ensure that the needs of the present are met without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It's a pretty clear statement of what this plan's trying to do, and I think a really great statement of what us as council are trying to do to make sure we have intergenerational equity in all of our actions. It's great to see the shift from natural resource management to environmental sustainability as a focus. As we see here, there's a number of additions, both that we've already started and that we're intending to go forward with, such as the energy efficiency plan, which is already well in place, shifting to some renewable energy like we have done at some of our big facilities, which is making a big impact on our ongoing electricity costs, but also on our emissions that we're creating as a council. Leading into that, we started looking into how we assess our emissions as council so we can set a baseline and look to where we reduce. Environmentally sustainable road matter and investigation of wetlands projects are great ones we've got on the list here. To be looking about how we can continue to do more here, as well as the conversation that we had before about FOGO. We are high resource intensive in the way that we have a lot of staff. We do a lot of activity for our community in the number, don't know how many vehicles we operate, probably over 100, maybe more than that, as well as obviously the development we do throughout the community on roads and community facilities. And I think it's really important that we both act as a leader to our community to show how we can be environmentally sustainable, but also that we try and reduce our impact as we do these things. Thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Right, a reply, Councillor Kiss.
Not needed, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Passed. Thank you. 7.2, the draft planning proposal aiming to amend the Cowra Local Environmental Plan of 2012 by reclassifying Lot 1 DP 1201417 and Lot 10 DP 110719 from community land to operational status. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Horton. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and we've discussed this at length with regard to a different proposal, but again, it's exactly the same property. And I would like to make note here on page 317 is once again that diagram that heads over the Lachlan River. So I wasn't completely out of line in thinking what on earth's happening with this. Hence my need to discuss it further. Look, I have absolutely no problem with having the land reclassified from community land to operational. Clearly it's been like that for some time, and as long as it doesn't have any bearing on our environment or future use, so on and so forth, then I'm very happy to support the move to being able to be used by the business in its correct fashion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Horton.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly, as identified, this is an enabling item to support item 6.2. So this is an administrative activity to allow the ongoing and to enable either the purchase or lease of this land that's been in effect operational for a number of years now. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Right, a reply, Councillor Kiss.
Not needed, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Hands up. Thank you. Passed. Thank you very much. 7.3, seeking endorsement of the final section 7.11 and 7.12 2026 contribution plans. Councillor Watt. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Watt.
Thanks. You can tell the later it gets, the more that Nikki and I move motions. This is something we have discussed before. We've received back our plans. We put it out to the community and sent it through to the department. Our work from here is that we place it on our website within 28 days and let the community know that we have adopted these changes. There's one small change that we've brought out as a result of that, which I think is a very useful one, which is about the application for a partial or full refund of the levy, which is something that we've come up with some challenges about in the past, and there was some odd wording in our initial draft that it had to be within 31 days of the 1st of January, which didn't really make much sense. We've now resolved that. The wording now reads that it must be received within 12 months of the payment of the levy, which obviously makes a lot more sense that you're not, if you get it in February, you have longer than if you get it in December. So with that change, I think this is a really strong contributions plan. Want to thank in absentia, but I'm sure Mr. Oakley was part of it as well. Thank the department for considering a number of proposals we put forward to look at the costs and benefits of different methods. And I think this is a good contribution plan to make sure that developments are supporting the building of infrastructure in our community.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I had a bit of a giggle at it too when I was reflecting on what Councillor Watt had said. Who on earth would come up with the wording by the first working day after the 31st of January within the year following payment? It's quite bewildering. I think I'd have to read through it a few times. So I'd love to be able to meet the person who had actually suggested that wording anyway. There was obviously a purpose for it, and now we've simplified, thankfully. Look, no changes, major changes were needed because of this, and happy to support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Right, a reply, Councillor Watt.
Not required.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour, it's a show of hands, please, councillors. All those in favour, carried. Thank you. 7.4, development application number 102026 37.1, lot 4, DP 1135952, being 2 Amy Street, Cowra, 2 dwellings and a 2-lot subdivision lodged by N. Agili Josanagi. The property owner is R. Dagner. Before I take a mover and a seconder, the acting director will fix a couple of alterations there that are wrong way round.
Yes, thank you. So I just read this report for the first time today, and I noticed that condition 10 is probably unnecessary, and it would be impossible for the applicant to comply with in any case. So I'll just explain. So the application is for construction of 2 dwellings and a 2-lot subdivision in that order, and condition 10 requires the establishment or the submission of an interallotment drainage easement prior to the issuance of a construction certificate, which is just not going to be possible given the staging of the development, because the dwellings have to be constructed first before the subdivision is actually created. So that condition, I think the simplest measure of addressing that is simply to delete that condition, because the creation of the stormwater easement can be carried out under condition number 31, which requires all necessary easements to be applied for water, sewer and stormwater. So I think that will suffice. I just don't think that condition is necessary.
So the development application is going to be minus condition number
10.
Number 10.
Yep.
Someone like to move that? Councillor Kiss. Councillor Horton. Thank you, Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, this DA has come to us because there are a few determinations that are in variation to the DCP. Proposals to subdivide a block, 792 squares, into 2 lots that are both over 300 square metres, which is what the LEP decides is permissible. And it's also including the 2 dwellings. The variations were requested with the 2 dwellings. There was one variation which was to do with the retaining wall setback, whereas the designated setback was 900 millimetres. For building terms, I still call it 90 centimetres, but it's not possible based on the position of the dwellings. But the directors assured us that there is still sufficient room for maintenance of the property between the retaining wall and the dwelling. And I'm quite happy to accept that. And also there are 2 additional setback variations requested for both the front and the rear setbacks of both the dwellings. Look, these are both 4-bedroom houses. It may not be suitable for a growing family. There isn't a large backyard that, you know, we'd all like to think our kids can run around and roam free in. But there is growing evidence that we need that housing diversity. It may be suitable to an older family, multi-generational families. The houses themselves are well designed. They look like they're going to present well. So look, I'm satisfied that the roads and all the other infrastructure will be suitable for the 2 properties. I appreciate the person who wrote in the submission, but I'm also satisfied that all of their points have been well considered and taken on board, and once again the variations have been fully justified. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Horton.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, yes, agree. I'm very used to the amount of space that I have where I live, but that's you know, time, place and situation. I've certainly lived in places in inner Sydney and inner Melbourne where myself and my partner were both working full time and didn't have any time really to enjoy any sort of outdoor space. So it just depends on the time and phase of people's lives. Having said that, there is access to outsourced space with these plans. This is unused, undeveloped land at the moment. It's in a residential zone. There are similar dwellings actually that back onto this property, so it's not an unusual development for this area. As Councillor Kiss mentioned, there was some feedback we received once the neighbours were notified. That's why we have these processes, so people can voice concerns. I don't think those concerns are significant enough really to halt the proposal. I think this is a good use of an unused piece of land. There's infrastructure running past it already. We don't have to deal with having to figure out how to get power or water or sewer to this location, and again, as has been mentioned, adds to the variation in our housing stock. So depending on what an individual or a family is looking for, you know, their needs, their preferences, that kind of thing, it provides another alternative for people. So, for example, as we've discussed before, you know, there's a preference sometimes when people move to areas like this to have a good size home on a good bit of land, but at a later stage in life, maybe people don't want to have to look after that big bit of land anymore and want to move into town and not have so much to look after. So this provides that opportunity. Of course, if that family moves in off that larger piece of land, that vacates that piece of land, so somebody else at that stage of life can move into it. So it creates another opportunity. So happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Councillor Watt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be voting against this DA. This DA has come with the request for 5 reductions in setback, as well as the reduction in the rules around the colour bond offence. Some of those setbacks are asking for almost half of what we've put forward as the delineated setback. And I really struggle with DAs that come forth where a parcel of land has been bought and the applicant is requesting to build large houses on a block that, according to our DCP, is not sufficient to house this. The applicant, as was noted, is building 2 4-bedroom houses, which is not the type of housing that you build for a retiree or someone who is perhaps living on their own or someone seeking smaller housing. I've said before here, you know, I am very supportive of expanding housing. I think that this opportunity that we have where more money and more incentives are being put into both building new houses but expanding our housing market is fantastic, but we should make sure that we're doing that in a way that is building the types of houses that fit our community. And the truth is that this doesn't. The 3 houses that back onto it from North Street do have backyards, and they won't be met with similar backyards by this proposed development. The applicant has claimed that there isn't, for dwelling 1, there isn't a house within 40 metres that has a setback that they can compare to, but they are in line with the side of the lot number one North Street, which does have a setback that I think they should seek to be consistent with. This being a corner block, there's a lot of other considerations to make sure that you do stay with that consistency around it, and that's not occurring. I also do have significant concerns about the reduction of setbacks onto Binney Lane, which is a very small lane, and the applicant is proposing that they build even closer into this. This lane is going to be the entrance for dwelling 2, and it's already quite a small space. And really, for me, I just struggle with DAs that come forward and want to build to the extent of their entire block so that they can fit 2 dwellings, when in reality, you know, they purchase a block that is the same size as all the ones around it, which have a single dwelling on it. As I said, these are 2 4-bedroom houses. They aren't going to be occupied by someone seeking for that, you know, reduced inside life. But what we know will happen is with the limit of housing, particularly around rentals, which we presume this may or may not be, but often these duplexes are, you know, trying to build as much space in a small space to rent out. We're essentially setting up in our community that that's the kind of places available for renters. We aren't the inner city. We never pretend to be, and people don't choose to move here to have a life like the inner city. The applicant is, asking for a lot here, and as I said, Binney Creek's quite small, and the houses on that North Street have, while they are close to each other, have complied with the front setback and the back setback. I think there's always room for flexibility in one reduction in the setback, but when you're asking for a reduction in 3 of the 4 sides of your building, you're really pushing out what we set forward in our DCP, which we did just adopt very recently as what we want to set the standard for our community for, and this chamber accepted that with no one speaking against that DCP for what we say we want the houses to look like here. So I think we should stick by what we've said here, and consider that, yes, there are sometimes reasons for small amendments, but when you're looking here, it's very substantive reductions that's been proposed on almost all of the setbacks, and will quite drastically change the type of housing in this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Right, a reply, Councillor Kiss?
No, not necessary, thank you.
I'll put the motion. It's a DA, councillors. All those in favour? Those against? I declare it passed. 8.1 is the late reports, which should be in your pink folder. They cover the questions that councillors asked after the agenda had been printed. There's only the one there, and it also contains the response from the question. Would someone like to move that we accept that, please? Councillor Downing. Councillor Speechley. Councillor Downing?
Yes, just to say thank you to the Director for the answer, because it was my question.
Thank you. Councillor Speechley?
Not required, thanks.
Anyone else wish to comment? Right, a reply, Councillor Downing. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Pass, thank you. Are there any urgent matters of notion for motions without notice? Okay, we'll go on to confidential matters, item 10. 11.1, request for tender 3026, replacement of plant 100, 1 telescopic handler. And 11.2, request for tender 42026, design, supply, installation and commissioning of solar photovoltaic, battery energy storage and power factor correction systems. These matters are considered to be confidential under section 10A DI of the Local Government Act of 1993. That the information to be received, discussed or considered in relation to these agenda items is commercial information of a confidential nature that would, if disclosed, prejudice the commercial position of the person who supplied it. Can I have a motion to go into confidential, please? Councillor Kiss. Councillor Horton. Thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Not needed, thank you.
Councillor Horton.
Quiet, thank you.
Anyone wish to comment? Right, a reply, Councillor Kiss.
Needed, thank you.
I'll pass the motion. All passed, thank you.